Pull up the stream.
It is February 17th, 2020. And this is Atlanta United FC Weekly, a Home Before Dark podcast. That was a good song. That's the good song.
Getting used to the rainforest sounds.
Yeah.
I've been actually getting ready for Peru by just listening to rainforest sounds.
Listening to Africa by Weezer by Toto.
By Toto.
Yeah.
Africa by Weezer by Toto. I like that. That
As
cover,
made famous
like the
by
Michael Spot, the Michael Scott quote.
yeah, Weezer's cover that Toto did of Africa.
Oh, I am Tim Herb. As always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Mr. Kevin Bradley.
Yes, sir.
Across from me, we have the great, powerful Joe Patrick, Dirty South Soccer. How are you, man?
I'm good.
Thanks for coming over. It's been a while. It's been a few months.
It has. When is the last time I was over here? I'm trying to remember. I don't think Kevin was here. I drank all of his bourbon.
Yeah,
right.
you
I
were
was
here
traveling.
with Payson?
Yes.
You came with Payson.
Yes.
No, I think I was on the week before. I want to say it was the week before.
Well, who came with Payson?
Who came with Payson?
Could have swore that was you.
I wasn't here with Payson.
I don't know.
Huh.
I was gone.
I'm almost
But-
positive I remember Payson saying that I was on, or that he was on the week after me, or like sometime very, very shortly after I had been here.
Who did Payson come on with?
I don't know. I wasn't
For those
here.
of you who do you remember?
Eric? Maybe
Do you remember?
Was it someone from Dirty South Soccer? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know who
I don't know.
Payson would be
Affiliated
slumming around with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. He's definitely the slum. He's the slum
He's
lord,
the
though.
slumlord.
Oh, I feel like this is the first time, and I might be jinxing it in a while, that we're not recording in the rain, and it feels kind of nice.
Mm.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
It's a crisp 50 outside.
Yeah, feels good.
Nothing better than a crisp 50 outside. Crisp 50 in your wallet.
50 in your wallet.
I put a 50, not to be big
Oh
baller.
yeah, but go ahead,
I
carry
put
on.
a 50 spot in the Wells Fargo deposit box, and then it's like, I don't know what this is. It's like it's so rarely used.
Yeah.
That and $2 bills. I don't know if you ever deposited a $2 bill.
No,
Surprisingly,
You can
works.
do that?
Yeah,
Really?
really.
yeah.
What do you just got a stockpile of $2 bills? Who has that?
We got that. So my in-laws got us like as a
Joke?
stocking stuffer, and it's like
you can't spend
Here's some
these.
money you can't
Here's
use.
some fake money.
no, that was the whole like idea behind it. It was like this guy. I don't know. It's a silly anecdote, but like he went to a place and the guy like tried to report him for counterfeit money. So like he sells packages of $2 bills.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Anyway,
It's a
But it
big thing
works.
for Clemson alumni too.
oh, IPTE day,
Yeah.
right?
Something like
Good old IPTE.
that. Oh, IPTE.
Oh, IPTE.
However you're finding us, thank you for tuning in. If you're in the trap tonight, see a lot of familiar faces in there. Joe Johnstone, Elliot Bevan, Richard Gordon, Brittany S. As always, Michelle. How you guys doing tonight? Everyone is talking about the game tomorrow already, which will be on the list for us to talk about.
Yeah.
One thing that we mentioned last week is that it will be streaming via
Fox Spocker. Fox Spocker. Yeah.
Ooh.
Fox Spocker. Live long and pay monthly. Fox Soccer Plus, which I
And-
didn't think existed.
I did not know what it was.
Yeah.
Because it was around whenever we were in high school and college, and it was like if you want to watch, Bundesliga matches
Yeah.
other than the main one of the week, you
Right.
can watch it on there. But yeah, it's a 5-day free trial on YouTube TV for those of you guys who use
so
YouTube
go ahead and
TV.
start that tomorrow.
I
so
don't
you
know
can
if
watch it.
anybody in the trap, if you guys use something other than
Brittany was asking if it was going to be on Fubu. We're all fucking this up.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I was trying to go clean already.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is going to be terrible.
Yeah. So Fubo TV, which has all the same offerings, I think, as a YouTube TV. It's like a full-blown streaming service now, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
That's
right.
what the Cooligans are on, and then there are a
that's
couple
right.
other, soccer dedicated shows on there. But anybody else, if you guys are watching like on Hulu or something like that, do you guys know if there's also the free 5-day free trial? Or anyway,
Can you get Fox? Yeah, I don't know. I'm just like praying, like when it comes to like what kickoff's at 10. So I'm just like praying, like
Yeah.
at 9 o'clock, I'll start figuring out how to try to
Yeah,
watch the game.
yeah. Somebody
I'm
will-
hoping by the time 9 o'clock hits, I'm awake.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
the way
I know,
things,
yeah.
things
Yeah.
go during the week. It's like,
I'm going
ugh.
to take a nap.
Yeah. It's gonna be like falling asleep like on the couch, wake up at like 8 o'clock and think it's 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
You're like, oh
exactly.
no,
Oh, no, I'm late for work.
I'm late for work. I am late for work. If you guys are watching us on YouTube, make sure that you guys hit the notification bell icon, the subscribe button,
Smash that thumbs
smash
up.
the thumbs up, smash the like. If you guys, we've been posting the stream earlier on. You could set reminders. Whenever we post it days in advance, give you a
Ooh.
little ping.
That's a new name, right? Bradley D. I haven't seen that one in the trap.
No, No.
Thanks for tuning in with us. Someone feel like streaming for your boy. I'm sure that you can find it on Reddit somewhere.
Yeah.
We need to get somebody to like just periscope their computer that's streaming it, so that everybody can get on.
Yeah, everybody gather around.
We just now got Periscope. I'm not trying to get reported.
I know.
So it's not us.
Apparently, I mean, I'm sure places are going to have it on and playing. Michelle's talking about the Brew House having it on.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
I'm
Just
sure
go to a
there's gonna
bar.
be plenty of places around.
Dude,
town
I was
that
telling Kevin though, it's like, granted, I don't drink, but like during the week on a Tuesday night, you're at a bar in the city past midnight.
Yeah,
like
that's too much. That's too
That
much
is
for
true.
this
that
old
ain't
man.
grown folks
10
shit.
o'clock.
Like that's
10 o'clock's a
Yeah.
brutal
Yeah.
kickoff time.
And what's crazy to me is like, okay, what are they on? Are they on like Mountain Time, something like that? They're only an hour
That's a good
behind.
question. Are they really? They're
I
Central
looked
Time.
Yeah, because they're in Tegucigalpa, and I looked that up today as like an hour behind. I'm like, why are you kicking off at 9 p.m.?
Do they just have like a later culture? Like I know Argentina's like that, where just like
Yeah.
everything happens late, and it's I think in Spain too. It's like that.
Yeah,
Could be.
Maybe.
Could be. Yeah,
Yeah.
so looking forward to that tomorrow. Good bit of news that came out this week. Since the last time we recorded, we obviously had the match against Leones Negros.
We did. Frank DeBoer was fired.
That's right. Already.
Rightfully and justifiably so.
His head was lopped off by the guillotine.
Absolutely.
This morning.
Yeah. But no worse record than Tata and PK, so there's that.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. Like I watched that and I was like, well,
Did they make the same exact? I think they made the same exact number of penalty kicks. Was
Just
one.
Probably
One.
was.
who was it that made the penalty kick against Columbus?
That's a good question. I think it was
Because Gressel missed his, or Gressel's was saved.
LGP's
LGP's was missed.
Joseph had been taken off. He did not take one.
Yeah.
I remember he got. Like, I don't know why Tata took him
Yeah.
off with like 5 minutes left before PK's.
Yeah.
If I remember
Almiron. Brittany's saying Almiron.
He made it.
I'm guessing he made his. But yeah, I mean, I don't really care. It's a preseason tournament. I don't think they really even wanted to be out there after a certain point. Like watching Leones
It looked
Negros,
like they were in the mud.
they didn't even celebrate. Like
yeah.
whenever they,
I mean, they were playing. It was like mile high, like altitude.
Yeah.
So, and they were playing 90 minutes for the first time. A lot of those guys.
So what are your thoughts on the whole travel situation for that match? Because they're traveling from Atlanta to play in this game to
In
come back to
Guadalajara.
And then they
yeah.
came back. That's the thing. It's like
Yeah,
I would get
exactly.
it more if they stayed out there and went straight from there to.
And that's what I thought they were doing was
Right.
to get used to the altitude. And then everyone's like, no, they're coming back to Atlanta for 2 days to go right back there for CCL.
Yeah, when the schedule came out, it didn't really make much sense to me because it's like, wow, you're just doing a lot of extra traveling that you wouldn't typically have to do. Like, why not? If you want to play a game at altitude, just go play the Colorado Rapids or something
Exactly.
in Denver.
Yeah.
go play in the hyperbaric time chamber.
I mean, I guess it was a good it was
It was.
the most quality opponent that they've played in preseason.
You want to hear a fun thing? Frank talked this morning on the conference call. He said something about it was good practice, like for the lighting in the stadium was like how it was like what you experience in like a smaller or like a stadium like you would find that they're going to be playing in.
You know, the one thing I
That's
could
interesting.
reason with is like they get used to the routine of the travel because it is such a long distance to travel. You're jumping time zones. You just kind of figure out how that whole process works in advance, so you're not scrambling to do so the week following. But still, it just seems like a lot of unnecessary wear and tear on sleep schedules and just schedules in general to go down there, come back, to go right back down.
That's kind of that's the kind of travel I feel like we've kind of bitched about in the past about MLS scheduling that kind of travel,
right?
Because the teams do come back before going
Mhm.
over. But at least this year we have how many chartered flights? It went from 8 to 16.
Well, it finishes at 16 by the end of it's like an escalating. It's like an escalating amount per year. I'm not sure exactly what it is this year.
Yeah. Well,
but
it was definitely an interesting game. I want to call out what Carl Segui said. He said we got to see their ugly trophy. It looked like something out of Diablo. It looked like a totem that like the necromancer or like a witch doctor would hold, like in his offhand.
Yeah, something out of
Diablo,
True Detective season 1.
Or yeah.
It looked to me like it was like some like it was like a high school pottery class.
That's a good one.
Like it was like the grand prize winner. It's like, oh, if you make like the best trophy, then it gets featured at the game against Atlanta United.
It's just a melted wax candle off of the birthday cake before.
Yeah. It's whale fat though.
Yeah,
like it's
exactly.
genuine.
Oh, is it
whale
really?
blubber.
Is it really?
Genuine whale blubber candle.
It's worth something.
Yeah,
worth
it's like
something.
it was like a hybrid ceramics biology class.
Yeah, it's an infinity candle.
We're here to make
Just-
anatomy statues. Oh God, yeah, it was pretty gross.
So yeah, thoughts on the game. Obviously, starting lineup. I think we
What
saw
what was more unappealing, the trophy or the way we played?
the way we played the second half. Well, I guess most of the game actually, for that matter. But it just sucks that we didn't really play a good game, and then we come out of it with injuries, and it's like, what did we really gain out of that? Because I think that's where I think Frank's comments really come into play. It's like, I don't know what they take out of that match.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean,
The injury was brutal. I mean, that was like the one injury that you didn't really expect because, I mean, if you think about it, Atlanta United's had amazing injury luck with their center back specifically
right.
since 2017. Like, Leandro Gonzalez-Perez played every single game. Michael Parker's played pretty much every single game while he was still first choice. And Miles Robinson played every single game last year until the very, very end. So that was kind of the first time where there was really a ton of experience trying to deal with replacing a center back. Now you're going to have to do it at the beginning of a season. That's going to be tough. And especially considering how important of a center back he is. You know, he's probably more important to the back line this year than Leandro Gonzalez-Perez was
Absolutely
at any point during that season, because he always had Parkhurst next to him. Now Miles Robinson he was the best 11 player.
Absolutely.
MLS best
He got
11 last year.
snubbed. Yeah, he got snubbed for the defensive player of the year last year.
Yeah, he probably should have been.
He
Player
was
of the year. I
he was
voted
that
for him.
defensive anchor that you needed going into this season, where you had so many question marks aside from Escobar being in the lineup still. But then that back line, whether it's 3-back or 4-back, it's just constantly changing. You need to have Miles Robinson there to build that consistency and that foundation off of. So to not see him in the lineup as well as the other players that are out. So to your point, there was the conference call this morning, and we got a report on the defense specifically. So we know that Campbell seems unlikely.
Yeah.
Frank has some doubts about his ability in that game,
Yeah.
or a game of that caliber. Bello's still out, right, with spinal compression. Is that what
it was?
said?
No, it was a concussion.
Oh, that's what I was like. What the fuck is?
Doug.
I was like, he got rocked in the head.
Doug called me afterwards and was like, "What did he say?" And I was like, I went back and listened to it, and he said, I mean, to be fair to Doug, Frank words things very weirdly, and he said, "We discovered a concussion." So it was like, I guess he got confused as to what he said. But
so
it was a concussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Bello's out. Obviously Miles is still out.
Yeah.
And then we've got a couple other players out with the whole visa issue, right?
Mulroney, Jake Mulroney, who's essentially a left wing back. And who was the other one? Oh, Joseto.
Yeah.
Rosetto?
Yeah. Joseto.
No, say Rosetto.
Yeah,
Stop
Rosetto.
it. Eric Quintana's not here.
Frank
Quintana
DeBoer
is not here.
Frank DeBoer calls him Rosetto. So that's good enough
Rosetta
for me.
Stone.
Yeah.
Rosetta Stone.
And then also Castro. His move's getting held up right now.
He's not even in the country yet. So
Which that was
unfortunate.
the latest news that we got since we recorded last week. Have you seen much of his tape, or do you have thoughts on it?
No, I actually have not seen him really at all. The only thing I've seen of him is his Football Manager profile. So
Gotcha.
seems like a decent player, but
Yeah.
you never know how these guys are going to translate to
True.
the MLS game, positively or negatively.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at Yamil Assad was not really a player that anybody was thinking about in Argentina. Came over to MLS and just fit in, whether it was tactically
Well,
or
after the
culturally
first
or
year. Once he got his feet underneath him.
Right. Yeah. So who knows how Castro will settle in, but hopefully will.
So Percy Herrera on Periscope saying Castro's flying in tomorrow, according to the Uruguayan media. So I guess that'll be interesting.
I saw somebody link
Flying
me,
into
sent me
Atlanta?
I don't
Flying
know.
into
I honestly
Tegucigalpa,
didn't even
yeah.
check it out. Somebody sent me a link from an Argentine radio news outlet saying that he was on his way traveling today. So, but they didn't make any mention of that on the call today. So
Interesting.
Mesa's available to start, which is good.
He is.
I thought he's played pretty well over the few games that he's been in. Nothing overly concerning, I guess. I mean, whenever
I don't think I have any concerns watching Fernando Meza play.
like I said, so who do we have that's available on defense?
it's
Escobar,
yeah,
Meza.
right. So Escobar, Meza, Anton Walks, and
Castillo?
nope, Castillo's out. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention him. Broken rib.
That's it. Yeah.
And
Brooks
then
Lennon?
now you're going to mix and match. So there's basically going to be two potential back fours, in my opinion. It's either going to be Walks, Meza, Escobar at center back, and Lennon at right back, which is not. I do not think that that's what it's going to
Why
be.
would
That
you
is a
not
very
put Walks
attacking.
in center back, knowing that's his natural position. And
Well, I think the reason for that would be just he hasn't played center back yet for this team. This preseason.
Well,
Yeah, I know.
So
I know.
there's that.
I think the left back is the best place to hide him, essentially, and where he can still somewhat do a
left
job
field in baseball.
Yeah, essentially. I think the back line is going to be Walks at left back, Meza, and then I think Laurentowicz will play at center back.
That's
and
a good bet.
Escobar at right back. That just gives you, it's a little bit more
Yeah.
defensive, but at least you have somebody back there who's, Laurentowicz can read the game, communicate, organize the back line.
And you've
that
got
kind of
between
thing.
him and Guzan to sort of field marshal that back line, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that makes a lot of sense, that you've got some veteran players that have had experience and knows what Frank's going to be looking for, knows how to push and pull that defense into the midfield the way you need to make those adjustments.
Yeah, and if that's your back four and you've got Lennon playing up ahead of Escobar at right wing, you can easily morph that into a back three with a back five, where you just.
I would not want to
back.
pull Lennon back if we can help it. The way he's been bombing up that right side, I want to keep him in that wing position.
What do you make? What do you make of Brooks Lennon so far?
I think he's been fine. I don't really have a strong opinion on him. He brings a lot more speed, in my opinion, than what Gressel brought on that right side. I still think Gressel's delivery, obviously, we all know his ability to make assists was.
He also had 3 years
incredible.
to develop it with the same player.
Well, the thing to me is you can't teach speed.
Right.
Brooks Lennon
sure.
is 3-4 years. Julian Gressel's junior.
Yeah.
And
about probably
'cause
about
he's 22. I think Gressel turns 26 or 27 this year.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So I mean, there's definitely time. I imagine he's probably not on a 1 year. He's probably on 2 or 3 year contract.
Yeah. And Lennon's got pedigree too. Coming up through the Liverpool Academy. I mean,
absolutely.
definitely got the natural talent there. So I think that it's actually a pretty good situation for him to develop for a few years in Atlanta. And I think that he just brings a different aspect to the game. I think that with both of the wingbacks that you're going to see this year, whenever this team is in a back three, you're going to see a lot more pace down those wings, as to where last year you had talented players in those positions, technically talented, but not physical, not like great physical traits. You had Gressel on the right, and then on the left you had Justin Miram or Florentine Pogba. I guess he was a little bit more physical, but neither were like flyers. You're the typical kinds of players you think of as a wingback.
And that's what we lost out of the offense of the first 2 years. I felt like last year was like we just seemed to be a much slower possession-based team, and so it's nice to see some of that come back with those new acquisitions.
So, what do you make of MLS Soccer projecting our starting 11 playing the phallic formation?
I'm on board with that 100%.
So it's the closest thing we could probably actually get to a phallic formation, because you're never going to have less than 2 in the back.
Yeah, exactly.
Or less than 3 in the back. So it's a 3-2-2-2-1.
I took 6 shooters.
So you'd have a 3-2-2-2-1. That's as phallic as you can get in terms of phallic formation.
That gets me excited.
Joseph's new position is the tip.
It's just the tip.
100%.
That's his entire responsibility. Is the tip.
Yeah. I mean, it really derives most of its power.
It's like, why would you describe that as a 3-2-2-2-1? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, bizarre. I mean, those things. Usually it's just because they can't fit the names across in a straight line, so they have to stagger them a little bit.
Yeah. I don't.
You guys want to hear a fun fact about speaking of formations like this? Tata was not a fan of how Atlanta United's digital team was so specific in the very beginning as to where the players were positioned. It was too specific. So that's what I don't know if anybody in the chat would remember this, or if you guys remember this, but all of a sudden the team sheets, when they would come out, it would just be flat 4-3-3, which players just straight across. Yeah. And that was because he
didn't like to see the little
he was you're giving them too much info.
Oh my gosh,
that's interesting. So Brian's asking, who do we see starting with Meza tomorrow? You guys think Laurentowicz?
Yeah,
I think Laurentowicz is most likely. Yeah,
be interesting. Because Campbell's not going to. Did Campbell travel?
Campbell did travel.
He's going to be in the 18.
I don't know why you would start him. I think,
or is it the 23? Do we have a 23-man roster for CCL, or is it 18?
No, it's actually it's up to 35. I think you can have
playable, but on the team sheet for the day of, is it?
So I think the team sheet is actually not going to even have 18 players on it because of all the injuries.
Oh,
I was counting it up earlier, and I think that there's only going to be 5 players on the bench. I think there will be 2 empty spots.
Yikes.
Yeah. It's not
the
great.
Injuries in the visas. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I mean, they're missing.
What are we out? Bello, Castillo,
Rossetto,
Mulraney.
Miles Robinson, What else is there?
Drop another F-bomb, by the way.
Castro, technically, although he hasn't played yet.
I'll get it right for tomorrow.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be so quiet tomorrow. It's gonna be terrible.
Yeah. So I mean, there's like,
So yeah, it's six.
tons of players missing, and the squad probably has room still for a couple other signings potentially. Which I mean, Frank de Boer actually alluded to that today, saying that the team is still looking to potentially make signings. And when you think about it, it does seem like this team is short a center back. When you think about Parkhurst is gone, Pogba's gone, LGP is gone. Who else is gone? There's another.
Castro was the other one. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyways, I think you've lost 3 center backs, and you really have only signed Meza. And I mean, Wags can't play, but he's going to be playing left back in this game. So
why wouldn't we, with all the TAM that we have or all the allocation money, why wouldn't we have gone after Walker Zimmerman?
Yeah.
Because he's not a DP player.
Do we
right?
have any player positions open in our roster remaining?
Yeah. So it seems like there are, but I haven't honestly gone back and like gone over it with a fine tooth comb. There probably are.
I saw that there was only one slot left.
Oh, is that right?
I this is Home Before Dark. I'm just saying.
Hey, I'm not
half of the time, but I could have swore I saw something on Twitter about us only having one slot open, which made the opening for Castro. So
okay.
I think that we're full.
I guess
could
it helped.
definitely be wrong.
I guess it helped because last year you had a regular every game starter in Robinson who was not actually taking a senior roster spot. He was a graduate Generation Adidas player, so he was actually on like the scrubs part of the roster. So you were kind of getting a bonus center back there. So I guess that's why it kind of feels a little thinner this year.
Yeah.
And, they really addressed all that in the CBA. Yeah. They really opened things up for teams to really go after it.
Oh, yeah. I've been making... I had this gripe when I think it was Sam Stasel who reported it for The Athletic about Heineman's contract. And it was like $800,000 this year. And it basically escalates like by $100,000 over the next 3 years up to $1 million. And... everybody was pretty upset about it, and I totally get why. It's like, wow, that's a lot of money by MLS standards, it's a lot of money to pay a player like Hyman. And it's like, man, it should not be that. You should not be having to like bend over backwards and ask yourself to get,
Yeah.
Well, I'll end the analogy there, but like just to sign a player like Hyman, who's
bend over
an American
to bend over backwards,
who's an American player who's kind of lost his way in Europe, et cetera, et cetera. That kind of player should be pretty easy to like acquire if you're an MLS club, and still it requires so many resources from an MLS club to sign a player like that. It's like you'll never really be competitive on like a global level if with those rules.
And one that creates shockwaves internally in an organization, right? That you have to allocate so much of your resources. I mean, it's not even that you lose players, which again, I think we can all sit here and agree that the transfer of Gressel is the right business move for the team, but the fact that so many people are able to make this argument just because of Heineman's salary, basically, that you can't maintain some longevity in your roster. So
how much younger is Heineman's? Only 22, 23, right? He's a couple years younger than Gressel too. I mean, and he plays a more vital position. At least you would think on paper would be more.
For sure, as a center mid. For sure. And I mean, this year he's essentially going to be the guy who is the Nagby.
But I mean, what Twitter keeps saying is he's not the Nagby replacement.
I know. I'm kind of teasing everybody with that, but he's going to fill that position, right? He's going to be playing as a central midfielder like Darlington Nagby was for most of the games, So, I don't know. We'll see. But it's like, to me, like spending $3 million on a player to go buy a player, like that's an investment. And the worst case scenario, obviously, is that player has a career-ending injury and you get nothing for him. Yeah. But like on the bell curve, like 95% of the time, you're going to like recuperate a lot, at least part of that money. And in half of the scenarios, you're going to actually make money on that investment. So that's what frustrates me about the spending limits that the league puts on teams, is that like you can't. Spending $3 million is not a $3 million spend. Right. It's a $3 million investment that you're going to get money back from.
Right. You can only really get creative with 3 players on your roster.
Right. Yeah.
And then that makes,
or 4 if you're LA.
That's true.
Well, it makes you get 4 players.
I mean, I like
Loans.
it because it's not just this pay to win
model.
I get it.
Like,
but I think there's got to be some balance to that because it is so restrictive. Like I like that it is competitive in that way that everybody has to get creative in a restricted way, but it's maybe a little bit too restricted right now the way it's structured. Yeah, you know,
I agree. No, I agree. It's like I like having to play Moneyball. You know, like I
Right.
like that kind of like trying to
You've
find
played
value.
too much Football Manager.
but it's
That's what it comes down
it's
to.
too few roster positions because then there's not enough excitement within the teams to grow and develop year in and year out where they're actually making some. Like I think that's part of why this offseason was so uninspiring for a lot of Atlanta United fans is because there wasn't a big ambitious DP signing that was getting
For
a
sure.
lot of funds and was filling up a roster spot. It was just reallocating allocation funds, basically.
Yeah, it was like
retooling. essentially.
retooling. Perfect. Yeah, and it did seem to me like it was a strategic effort to like try to clear the books as much as you can and try to get as much of a clean slate as you can to rebuild. Not that the team wasn't in need of rebuilding from a talent perspective, but just from these contracts, you know, I think it was Frank that said you have to turn over every penny.
Yeah.
And so if you're maxing out your roster money wise to try to make yourself as competitive as possible, well, then if players overperform, there's no wiggle room left.
Right.
So you have to try to then you have to try to extract the value that those players who overachieved did. And that's like what we saw with Gressel. It's like, well, the only way we can really get true value for him is by just selling him for the cash and trying to reallocate that the best way we can.
It's amazing. I feel like we were celebrating 3 years ago, or I guess 4 years ago, that we were helping MLS was turning into a feeder league. Like that was a positive that MLS was feeding. And now we're getting pissed off whenever players are leaving or whenever players are getting sold.
Yeah.
It's like, it's bound to happen just due to the nature of single entity, due to the nature of the restrictive compensation rules and allocation money and all that good stuff. Yeah, it's hard for a team to be constructed. That's why I think it's so impressive from a managerial standpoint or from a front office standpoint what successful MLS teams do year in, year out. I mean, just being able to even stay within the color within the lines and be successful year in, year out. That's why there's so much parity in this league. But at the same time, there are teams, and Atlanta United's part of it now, along with Seattle, along with LA Galaxy, save 1 year with LA Galaxy and LAFC and Toronto, where these teams are now perennial powerhouses. And it's because they've learned to play the game, essentially.
Yeah. And that's why, like, you talk about the single entity. We were talking before the show. I interviewed last year, Stu Holden and John Strong before the Eastern Conference Final, and they were talking about the CBA and they were talking about the CBA negotiations, and they said that it's not like players versus owners, it's the owners versus the owners, right? It's like it's the owners of the clubs. They're tied together through this single entity structure that is MLS, but some of them are more ambitious than others. And if it were up to Arthur Blank and Atlanta United, I'm sure that a lot of the things that we've been talking about around this table, probably like they would love to do those things, but then there's also the aspect of, the high tide lifts all boats and the struggling teams can be carried along. So
and
it's a give and take.
The other part of this, which CM mentions, and I know it came from Doug's report that Frank told Boca that he wanted to have new players and new energy in the locker room. And I don't think that that's the entirety of the story. I'm sure the front office has some monetary negotiation incentives for some of these different trades and things like that. But that said, it was the right time to do so for some of these others that maybe weren't necessitated by a financial move, because you do have a new manager and you want him to have instilled his fingerprint on this team in some way,
Yeah, there were, I think that kind of goes player by player. There were some players, like you say, Gressel. I mean, Gressel was like defending Frank DeBoer last year when things were going really bad, and I think that DeBoer always really valued Gressel. He wouldn't have wanted to get rid of him in an ideal world, but
LGP on the other hand,
right, he may be one of the more like different energy.
I think it is a player by player basis, and it ended up lending itself really well to some of those transitioning and moving on, and others, staying the course. Right.
I think it's interesting to point out. I believe his name is Alex Passin on Twitter had posted last week about how great it was to see and how different it was to see the camaraderie around the team, and namely from Petey and Frank DeBoer after,
Absolutely.
during penalties and all that, and that they're corralling around each other, putting arms around each other. They're like cheering each other on. It makes you wonder, like,
do they like each other?
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah. I don't like
Oh
it
my
when
God.
I don't like it when daddy and daddy are nice to each other. Like, this is weird.
Yeah.
It's very weird. But I think it bodes well for us, because I think some of the things, like with Petey last year, it seemed like some of the downturns that he took throughout the year, the whatever you want to, stumbling blocks, I felt like they were more mental than they were physical.
Yeah.
Like if he's in a good state of mind.
Yeah.
Coming over here after a year, settling in, getting acclimated to the league, getting acclimated to the team, and now he's in the right headspace. He's going to tear shit up this year.
Well, it's also so much pressure we saw the same thing with Barco whenever he came in. His first year was uninspiring for the most part. Like, there were moments of it, but he had a huge weight to carry with a ton of money thrown his way and his transfer fees and everything else, and then sort of underperformed based on that. And then last year was able to thrive and really come into his own. I fully expect to see the same thing happen with Petey this year, especially what we've seen these first few preseason matches, at least.
Yeah. Well, if you think back to Petey's transfer when he came to Atlanta, when did he play? He played in that the Copa Libertadores final in Madrid, like mid-December.
Yeah, it was.
And then he was in Atlanta training for a new season mid-January. And I think
no break. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us, like, I mean, I'm sure I put it out there at some point once or twice, like, oh, this will be good because it's like he can just carry his form right into but like in realistic sense, like, you're moving your family, you've got all this other baggage that comes with making a transfer, just like
the
personal stuff.
Yeah, playing nonstop for that amount of time is exhausting.
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, he essentially played almost like 14 or 15 months straight, like basically from midsummer, or maybe even longer than that. I'm not sure exactly what his schedule was like the year before he came to Atlanta, but yeah, almost 2 years straight.
That's brutal.
So yeah, to me, he looks fitter. Like, he looks sharper and just like a better player already in this preseason. I think we're only going to see that, I say he's sharper, but I think a lot of the players, they're only 4 weeks into their training, so they're all going to improve and get even much better.
That's another thing that Frank DeBoer put out there this morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at
4.5 weeks versus
it's 6 weeks. It's 6 weeks total versus a normal 8 weeks, or is it?
No, it's been 4.5 weeks.
Gotcha.
And normally
versus 6.
And of course, there are some people who are like already making excuses.
Like that's exactly what he's doing. It was like we all bitch about the schedule until our scapegoat goes and complains about it. It's like, why are you complaining about it? Like, you're just going ahead and laying it out for laying the excuses out. They're asking what we're drinking, or maybe they're asking themselves what they're drinking. And
I'm still on the wagon.
Kroger.
This is not a beer. This is a
Kroger
blackberry citrus seltzer.
Yeah,
coconut LaCroix.
Delicious.
And then I had kombucha mixed with seltzer, which is good.
Old move.
It's a nice.
I like it.
It's a nice mix.
Yeah, I mean, Brian has a good point. Even Petey's questionable long shots are looking better. He had a couple of rips.
Yeah,
that I was like, oh shit, out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so Andrew Hancock, which looks to be a new name in the trap, saying a bit off topic, but why do y'all think Atlanta United struggled offensively against Leones Negros? Was it more than just the altitude? I still think it has to do with the mixture of like lineups and mixture of like new people, new faces. I think it's one thing to do it during training, but then to get out there in a competitive match against not your teammates and to click.
And I think it was also the most skilled opponent that they had faced, and it was a pretty quick turnaround coming off of their previous preseason match just a couple of days prior. So I think they're still just trying to work out a lot of that stuff. And I think these games are a place to experiment in a lot of ways. So I don't necessarily take a lot of the success and failures with a grain of salt in preseason, because you'll see some of those things get employed and they're specifically trying things to see if they're a possibility versus a definite tactic that would get employed. And so we're seeing a lot of these little 1-2 and flick on movements and trying to get the motion and the familiarity with where players are going to be and what routes they're going to inherently want to try to take. And you can see that changing from game to game to see, okay, this is more successful against Philly, or this really worked for us against Red Bulls or whatever. How can we apply and adapt that to a quick counter offense or a possession based defensive tactic and stuff like that? So I don't know that it was necessarily entirely. I think it's just a little bit of everything,
Sure.
right? Like it's experimenting some. It was that I think that Leones was probably a better team a lot of the time.
And did you see that trophy they were playing for? I mean,
Exactly.
anybody would just
Exactly.
run their heart out for that thing.
Exactly.
No, I think that I think you're right. And there's new players in the squad that are trying to get bedded in and get their fitness up. Like I think that Anton Walks is playing left wing back because he needs to get in shape. Like
he's like the right wing back Mikey Ambrose last year.
Yeah. I mean, he'll play some left back. Like I think he's going to play left back in this first game, but I think part of the reason he was just out there was just to get him running. He was he's capable of being out there. But yeah, it's like these things. And even a guy like Emerson Hyndman, he's not new, but he's playing a different role this year. Last year, he was kind of like a more attacking midfielder, making runs into the box. Yep. Now this year, he's more of a distributor who's coming in deep. So there's all kinds of different dynamics at play when you talk about what the players are being asked to do tactically. And I actually, to get into it a little bit more, I'm not going to get into it now, but there is an article on Dirty South Soccer. I think it's titled like, why is Atlanta United? It was that clickbait. Yeah. I think it's called like, why is Atlanta United struggling this preseason or something like that. So I did it. There's a video. Don't worry about the body copy in that. It was like 1 a.m. and I was just trying to.
So let's get to that real quick. Greg Fraser
was trying to get as many clickbaity words in there as I could.
I forgot we can pin the comments to the screen so you guys can see.
But, that's great. Yeah.
Gregory Fraser asking, does Joe still feel the 4-back is going to be better for us due to our struggles with transitioning out of the defense? Enjoyed the video, by the way, Joe.
There it is.
Yeah.
Nice. Thanks for watching it, Gregory. Yeah. I mean, I think that this team will be at its best in a back four.
Yeah.
And I think
so right now. Full stop.
Yeah. I mean, I think that that's the case. I think that it's very hard to play a back three. And so I should explain why would the back three have worked last year where it's not working so well, or doesn't seem to be, in my opinion, working so well this year. And it's because you have different center backs, right? Like last year you had Leandro Gonzalez-Perez as one of your center backs and Franco Escobar. Is that his name? Franco? Yeah. Had a brain fart there. But mainly LGP, who could actually step up into midfield and actually progress the ball forward from his center back spot. Right now, what we've seen so far from this team in preseason is that you don't really have a center back that is as comfortable doing that. So you need midfielders coming deeper to collect the ball off of them. And when you have three center backs and then more midfielders coming deeper just to pick up the ball to try to progress it forward, now you're trying to progress. You're requiring 4, maybe even 5 players to just move the ball into midfield against like 2 opposition players. And it's just, you're just losing the numbers game at that point.
So who's the conduit then? Is it Hyndman?
Or
Rossetto, Loretta.
Yeah.
So what do you see once everybody's healthy, visa issues aside? Like who do you see in that midfield? In that 3-man midfield, I would assume.
Spike, depending on
because you're talking about a 4-3-3, right?
Yeah,
or essentially like a 4-3-2-1, right?
Yeah,
because you would put Barco
right.
and PD kind of
Barco and Pitti would be central. Yeah,
just do your thing behind Joseph kind of thing.
Yeah, essentially playing with like a defensive midfielder behind 2 regular center midfielders. And I think that right now you would probably have Jeff Lorenowitz in that spot, although that is the question mark for me, even with this, is does that position of that defensive midfielder is so important because they need to be good defensively, but they also need to be able to, like I said, progress the ball and be creative and be a passer, kind of like what Michael Bradley is for Toronto FC. Like he's not right. But he's not. He doesn't do anything super special, but he's tactically astute and he knows where to find space to pick up the ball off his center backs and just get the play going. And that's what Atlanta United needs. I think Jeff Lorenowitz can probably do that, but he's old. You can't. I don't know if you can really rely on him too much. So yeah, Remedi's the tricky one. He has looked really good this preseason, but I can really only go off of what we've seen from last year. Right. And to me, he's just more of a box-to-box midfielder. Like he needs more freedom.
Agreed.
He has his best games when he has very simple instructions where it's like, just do this thing.
Yep.
And it just focus on that, and like he can pull that off.
Right.
But like once you start asking him to be too tactical and be worrying about too many things, he gets dragged around. And so for that reason, I don't think he's ideally suited that position. But you never know; he can develop and grow into that area.
I have a really important question because we talked about the lineup and the depth is going to be challenged. Somebody else mentioned the trophy and who it could have been awarded to. Do you think we've reached Airbud status with this lineup right now? Should Spike get the call up?
I think we are at that point.
I mean, it was a matter of time, right?
Yeah. I mean, you have to fill out the team sheet. I mean, it has to get,
I still think that's been the best. Joe, you were the one that had shed the light on that somebody over there within your ranks had mentioned being 1 or 2 injuries away from a real Airbud scenario.
Yeah, that was.
I still think that's been
Who
the best.
was it? I forget who said it, but that was incredible. So true.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Gregory mentioned Villasanti, which it doesn't look like that's something that's on the cards to me, just because it seems like those rumors have completely died off.
And he's cup tied, right?
Is he?
I mean, he was in the Copa Libertadores lineup.
Yeah, but I don't think that would tie him down. Like, he could still play in CCL.
Oh,
because it's a different cup. I don't know. Regardless.
Maybe I'm
if
crazy.
he were to, I do think that he is the kind of player that Atlanta United needs right now, like a midfielder that's a little bit more defensive minded, but also is very technical on the ball. That's essentially the kind of player that Villasanti is, and he's the kind of player I think
Carlos Carmona.
Needs. Yeah. There you go.
But to go back to that, because at midfield, if you ideally want to play Rossetto and Heinemann together and be able to, have Heinemann cover more box to box, have Rossetto play more playmaker, then you do need somebody a lot more defensively minded.
Yeah. And so I think that Jeff could be that guy. And I think that, like, something I posited in that video was that, like, you could have that 3 be your 3, and you could still have, when you're trying to make your offensive transition, you could still have Heinemann be a guy who drops a little bit deeper and comes and picks up the ball and tries to, and does that work to progress the ball.
Which we've seen him do in preseason.
Yeah,
we've seen him pick up the ball
sure.
at the top of the 18, split a couple of midfielders, and then run that to the top of the opposing 18, lay it off, and then track back. So
so there's different variations. There's different kind of variations you can put on the formation. It's not like, when so often you see, like, me or anybody else do a tactics board and you just see the players in their formation, and it feels very static, when in reality things are a lot more dynamic, and there are much more, like, specific instructions for players to do things in certain situations based on, like, opposition movement and stuff like that.
Oh my God. Why did you pin that Michelle comment and not the latest one, which is, can we raise Spike like Simba at the beginning of the game whenever we do the golden spike?
Dude,
just with the Lion King Circle of Life.
That would be
playing.
amazing. Oh my God.
Until he gets to be like 80 pounds. And then
What if he's still doing it? Just like a full grown dog.
No, it's just been 6 years and he hasn't aged at all. It's like, this math doesn't work out.
Anti-growth hormone. He's just been injecting him with anti-growth hormone the whole time. He's got the softest bones.
How fucking old is this puppy?
I feel like there's got to be more puppies coming down the line, right? Because, like, once he gets older, like, they still have the handle, the Twitter handle. It's they got to find replacements.
This is Uga.
I'm sure, it's been such a hit that I'm sure they're like, oh yeah, let's keep this pipeline coming.
Definitely.
Oh, well, I thought it seems like the golden retriever pipeline's dead.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Just got old Yellard. Somebody old Yellard the golden retriever.
I think the German pipeline? It seems like
really
like a German Shepherd. Either that or Malinois. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Malinois.
It's definitely become more of a German Shepherd pipeline.
Oh God. I'm trying to find that comment from Michelle to pin again. Let me see if I can find it.
I know it was directed at Joe about what was it? Was it about Villasanti?
No, it was about Frank de Boer.
Oh,
about the attitude towards Frank
his
de Boer.
Attitude changed this season versus what it was last year.
No,
it seems to be much more.
So Joe Patrick, calling you by name. Do you see a difference in attitude towards Frank now that he's a season in? It seems to have calmed down a bit.
Yeah. Quick funny story. Like, when I was in high school at graduation, I guess, like, somebody in the class that I didn't really talk to that much was like, "Oh, I thought your name was like Joe Patrick. And I just didn't know your last name." Like, that was like a hyphenated situation there.
It's a real gentlemanly name of that. I mean, to have a.
It's like, no.
Joe Patrick Robinson.
Yeah, no, I think, to me, so to be perfectly honest, I have not actually, like, physically been around the team that much because they've been gone, and I've had work to do and stuff. So I haven't been around the team that much, but I did think it was really funny. The first day of media, we're all, like, there's the scrum set up inside the little SunTrust Pavilion is where they do it. That's kind of like the media center essentially.
Is that the training ground?
Yeah, at the training ground. Yeah. And so we're all standing around, and Frank walks in. You can see us all there, and he walks in the door. He's like, "Happy New Year!" So he was like in a good mood. Yeah, and he's honestly, like, I think people get the wrong impression of him because he does kind of come at things with like a very kind of serious demeanor, and just in the way he presents himself.
Yeah.
But he actually like has kind of a dry sense of humor and will like kind of crack jokes. Like even on the conference call this morning, he was like, what did he say? Oh, he was like, yeah, it's a problem, because I only have like 16 or 17 guys to choose from. But he's like, but that kind of makes setting the lineup up easier. He's like, I only have 16 or 17 to choose from. So
that's great.
I
think people be
personality.
Yeah. He kind of
We'll see once he loses those first couple of games.
We had a couple questions from Twitter.
Really?
Kendrick Brock, probably my favorite question. He said, can you ask? So I asked for questions for Joe. He said, can you ask him what his favorite Arby's sandwich is?
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh.
And Bill said, and why it is the Meat Mountain.
And favorite sauce, too.
Oh, my.
Just go
3 pepper.
Yeah. What's your Arby's order? How about that?
Oh, God. So not an Arby's guy.
Oh, fuck
to be
off.
perfectly
Get
honest.
out of here.
It's like meat that's made out of powder and water mixed together.
Come on, man. It's
I
America.
mean, honestly, I would always just go with the beef and cheddar, just like Simpleton.
Okay.
See, I don't
like a
think
staple.
when I could still eat it, I don't think I
had
appreciated it because I didn't like onion buns whenever I was a
You
kid.
fool.
Yeah.
Oh well, that's crazy. That was like the one good part about it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
No,
I haven't had any of the new, like, honestly, I have not been there in years, and I haven't had any of like the new items on order.
Oh, dude.
I want to see.
Maybe I should. I guess I should.
In the trap, Brandon Scott says his is Montana with cheese. What is everybody's Arby's order?
I like that turkey bacon ranch sandwich. That
Thank you,
Market
Brittany.
Fresh sandwich that they got. I like it. It's good.
I haven't had Arby's.
Roast beef and cheddar if
God.
I'm in the Gulch for sure, though.
But they have the 5 for $5 where you can get like 5 things of cheese sticks for $5.
Yeah, or just 5 beef and cheddars, and you stack them like those videos of people that take all the fillings out of the Oreos and stack them up. You just do that with beef and cheddar.
Yeah. And then you just eat the buns.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm more of a bun guy.
You just ball
It's like,
it
have you-
up
have you
like
ever
an
heard of
apple. Just eat it like an apple.
The secret McDonald's order, the McGangbang.
What? No.
Yeah, it's like a secret underground McDonald's order, which was like it's like a McDouble with like a sandwich inside of it. Or something.
Oh my god!
And I saw like a story. It's like McDonald's is like putting the kibosh. Like if an employee ever actually delivers this sandwich, like they're fired.
The best secret McDonald's order, which is not a secret, is whenever
surf and turf.
Whenever you do the math and realize you can get 20 apple pies for $10, and you go in there and slap a $10 bill on the counter, it's like, can I get 20 apple pies, and watch the panic set in on all of their faces. And like, I don't know if we got that.
And I told you why the panic sets in. My brother worked at McDonald's for years. He's like, those things take an hour to make.
And I just wiped them out.
There's a great Jim Gaffigan joke about McDonald's, and he's like, you drive by a McDonald's and you see like Big Mac for $1 or something. You're like, shit, I'm not gonna lose money on this. Like, I gotta go get some of this.
The 2 for $3.
I'm losing money if I don't buy this.
I think Felipe Cardenas is watching on Periscope. He says he's the 7th viewer. Buenas
What's
noches.
up, Felipe?
And you are losing some,
Felipe, you're seeing me at my worst.
Yeah,
buddy.
you're losing some brain cells.
Yeah.
I don't know if you really want to come over here and do this. We'll get Felipe over here in a few weeks, hopefully, and sit down with us, and we'll try and break him down.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad he came in right when we're talking about Arby's.
Break down the veneer.
What the hell is this? What did I get into?
Oh God, yes. Let's see.
What
else?
other questions we got?
Josh Bagriansky asked thoughts on the Braves bullpen.
Big baseball guy here.
Yeah. Okay, no, I'll keep going.
I could answer it, but I assume nobody wants me to do.
I
that,
don't.
So,
and then 2 questions. Andy Watkins and then Brian posing them differently. Andy says make sure to ask him why he keeps trying to block out new players' visas. But then Brian asking what's the holdup on the visas. Do you have any idea?
So I've heard that it's just like purely government related bureaucracy, pretty much out of the club's hands. And one of the MLS writers, Tom Bogert, he quote tweeted some tweet that I had sent earlier this morning, and he said that he's been hearing the same thing. He talks to a lot of like GMs around the league and stuff, and he said he's heard the same thing from just teams across the league because it's not a soccer issue; it's a government thing. So it's just like it's essentially immigration laws and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
not to get too political with it, but that's just how it is. That's how it is right now, which is a pretty big bummer.
Yeah, is that? It's also why Dan hasn't been on the show
exactly.
in a long time.
Exactly.
Felipe with an actual question. He's saying, if Atlanta United starts slow again, would it really truly surprise you? I don't think so. For just to jump in,
start slow in the season or start slow in the game tomorrow night.
I would assume season. I guess you can clarify, Felipe, but I think
season.
I took it as season,
Okay.
seeing as how we had a slow start last year. I think we will. I think just due to the turnover, but hopefully systems implemented, key players are still mostly the same. At least what really makes us tick. And I wouldn't be surprised if we started slow.
I would be only because of what we talked about last week.
He did clarify the season.
Yeah, I would be just because of what we talked about last week, which is that there doesn't seem to be a clear front runner in the East right now. And Atlanta seems poised with a lineup and a skill set to make a pretty heavy-handed run early in the season, depending on, I guess a lot of that depends on how deep they go into CCL, how tired they get, what the injury situation is whenever we start the season. If we're going into the start of the season with most of our defensive backs out, it's going to be tough to really say, yeah, we come out guns blazing and we're winning hand over fist throughout the first half of the season or whatever. But if everybody gets healthy, I don't see why. I would be surprised if we don't make a slightly better start to the season, just because the team has had time to get accustomed to Frank's system. They've got the chemistry that they didn't have last year, particularly on that offensive side of the ball. I think that this team is poised to have a faster start this season than last year, but that's just my opinion.
I'd be surprised if they did not start slow. I think they will. I think it'll be a rough start. The team, just to me right now, is not. They don't look quick. I mean, I know that Felipe has talked about this before, but like the pace of the play is just not there right now, and I'm not like, until I see it happen, I'm not going to be convinced that it's just going to happen all of a sudden. So, I think that they are going to start slow, and I actually think tomorrow could be. I think tomorrow could be a rude awakening. Motagua is a good team, and
so have you been watching them much?
Not actually watching them, but just the results. I've just been watching the results, and they're
on a hot streak right now. Somebody was saying in the trap.
Yeah.
So they won like 8 straight or something like that.
Yeah, and they just beat Olympia, I think who was like one of the top teams in the league. So, and it's always a tough trip to go down there anyway. I think you're looking at another Herediano-ish situation where the team's going to need to have a big win when they come back for the home leg. Yeah, that's how I see it. I mean, Brad Guzan said today that they would take a draw, essentially, which of course is the right, like I would say that. I think we would all agree with that, but like usually you don't hear players say that. Usually you hear them say like, we want to go dominate, we want to win the game, et cetera, et cetera. I think the fact that he's actually admitting that publicly is like a little bit of, he's like, it's almost like a tempering of expectations to an extent. I don't know. That's just me personally. I would be happy for them not to start hot slow.
I mean, I'd love for them to play for a draw. I think that's a huge win.
Nice. I feel like it's taboo for me to say that. Like I'm like rooting for the team, but I do kind of root for Atlanta United because I think like
there goes journalistic integrity.
Here we go. See, that's the thing. It's like you can't. It's like if you say that, then your journalistic integrity is. Yeah, it's like that is literally what you just said. Like I think you were saying it sarcastically, but I do think some people think that. But like I think it's a little bit disingenuous to not want to like. You want the team that you go cover every day to be good and to play good soccer and for it to be entertaining.
I find it impossible to hold it against essentially beat reporters, beat writers from getting some sort of attachment to a team.
Yeah.
Especially like from a sentimental
level. The players,
dude, you got it.
Not like you're friends with them, but
like Stockholm syndrome at a certain point. I mean, we can sympathize with the hostages, but not with beat reporters. Come on, what kind of world is this?
Oh god, yeah. Felipe's watching down in Mexico, which I think is pretty cool.
That is great.
Nice.
Yeah. That's great.
No, I mean, you're right though. It is disingenuous. I mean, I don't think sports reporters, journalists, podcasters, what have you. I don't think
we have no journalistic integrity. Don't lump us into that.
Hey, I have a degree, buddy. I use it every week for an hour.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
I'm sorry I'm ruining that.
No, but for it, like I find it hard to hold any judgment against it. It's not like, and I guess the same. I don't want to go down this road
Oh,
necessarily.
we're going. Vroom.
Let's
But
go.
the
Get
same,
the keys.
The same could be said for political reporters too. I mean, from a team aspect too. Now, I
Mhm.
mean, it's like there's no. If you look at it, this isn't your dad's ABC Wide World of Sports.
Okay,
anymore,
boomer.
right? Like, yeah, exactly. This isn't like. There's no Walter Cronkite. There's no Howard Cosell. Like this isn't that anymore, right? Especially like the media's
Whatever, you got John Oliver.
yeah. Like the media is so gotten so demassified and fragmented to where there's such hyper focus on such small things. Like you think about it even from Atlanta United. How many reporters do you have from Dirty South Soccer to the AJC to the drop down on 11 Alive?
The drop down menu.
That's right.
Beautiful. Yeah, like to me, I mean, I think anybody who, has followed me or Felipe or anybody, like, we like, well, I'll just talk about me because I don't want to speak for anybody else.
No,
Like,
please do.
I think
Speak
if
away.
you followed me, like, that I'll be critical of the team if I feel like there are things that I should point out that they deserve, criticism for. Hell, we all know Dirty South Soccer's #1 article of all time. So I mean, it's like, yeah, I just don't.
That's the tough reporting. The #1 article of all time.
Oh yeah,
That's the tough reporting because somebody had like I feel like it was kind of an ode. Maybe it wasn't ode to the fans.
So,
well, that's why we did it. Was
do
like
you guys want
there
to
was
mention what it was instead of beating around the bush?
it was the Barco article.
Yeah.
Romantic overtures. And the thing, like the reason we thought it was relevant to report was because everyone was wondering why he wasn't starting, or
Right.
we knew that there was just like I forget how Tata phrased it. It was like he committed a misdeed or something. I forget how he said it.
It was.
But
I think it
was
was a transgression or something.
It was
like
non-specific, and at that point, like people would forget, but like he had been the best player on the team for a few games leading up to that point. And so it was a big blow to the team just on the field to be missing Barco. And I just, myself and I, consulted with some other people about whether we should run the story. And we just decided it would be relevant to do so. And that's why we didn't share a ton of details about it because we didn't think that all the personal details with people that were involved and everything, that wasn't important. It was just important, like what happened with the player. So like, that's an example of like, we'll do our, like, I still want the best for Sergio Barco. I want the best for Atlanta United, but like also we have an obligation to report and do all that stuff. I don't think they're mutually exclusive things, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So
yeah, Brian says
I don't even know how I got on this topic.
It was an act of indiscipline is what Brian said.
That's what it was.
It was your lack of
good
journalistic
memory.
integrity.
Yeah.
That's what we started.
And
with.
we have our good buddy down in Sydney, Nick Pugnal, Sydney 17 supporters group joining us live in Sydney. We're
That's
on
incredible.
We're on 3 continents.
I see
three
that
countries.
the Sydney supporters group on Twitter
Holy
is
shit.
like
I
the
like
support from there is incredible.
Yeah,
Three
it's awesome.
The
countries.
dedication to follow the team from that far away.
I went
is
and
amazing.
watched a game with Nick at 10 a.m. and Cheers Pub in downtown Sydney.
Grassroots marketing.
Yeah,
Home before dark. We go where the people are.
Oh, well, yeah.
So let's do score predictions for tomorrow.
Ooh, it's that time, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Score predictions and just
I got to
and just what you think is going to play out over the course of the game. I think that you kind of alluded to. You alluded to
you don't
it.
like how critical I'm being of the team or not?
No. You alluded to it, but I think that the best case scenario obviously would be a win. But I think the most realistic best case scenario Brad Guzan kind of spoke to, which would be if they go down there. And
Why does that have to be the most realistic? I get that we're 6 weeks into or 4 weeks into our preseason. I get that they're in full swing in their season, but in all things and they're playing well. But
if it was 100% healthy team, I could agree with what you're about to say. But I think it's just we're not going down there with a team that's built up a consistency defensively over the past few games that we've seen this team playing. So I think that that's going to leave some question marks that maybe makes me doubt that they're just going to go down there and get a win.
And I guess my ignorance is speaking for me because I know nothing of the Honduran League, but I feel like I know nothing of the Honduran League because there might not be anything of note in the league in terms of level of playing quality against even whenever you look at the teams in CCL in the past. I mean,
fair enough.
I mean Herediano, Costa Rica, but like mostly whenever you get into the thick of it, the best teams and the better teams in CCL are really coming from Mexico, right? I mean,
fair enough.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
So I don't know. I personally think that we're going to come out and we're going to win the game.
Wow.
I do.
Just
I
basing it
honestly
off
do.
of, and then also the Leones Negros.
The reason
game,
I
too.
pulled out my phone is I'm just trying to look at. I'm trying to see what Atlanta United's record in general was last year on the road, because I want to know how many wins they had on the road.
What did
and I can't
Percy
find
just gave his? What did he say?
I can't-
Percy said 4-1 Atlanta in a Barco brace.
Wow,
See, I'm
old.
man bashing negativity over here, but I see it the other way. I see it like 3-1.
I don't see
Motagua.
it going that bad. Come on, man.
You guys are just trying not to invoke Eric Quintana and the Dread God.
No, I don't see it being I haven't seen enough out of this team right now to warrant a blowout over most anybody. Like, especially considering the circumstances with the defense and the lineup. Like, I have too many questions that I can't say definitively that it's going to be a win.
What in what sport have preseason results ever mattered?
I
And
agree.
ever really been
I
a
know.
barometer
And
for what the team is going to be?
And I said that just a little while ago. I don't put so much stock in the positives or the negatives, but if I had a little bit more positive to say that this team is a world beater, particularly coming off of that Leones Negros game, I may have a little bit more of an inclination to say, like, I'm pretty sure they're going to get a win. I just don't have that feeling. I don't have your fucking trash opinion.
Kill myself.
Good God.
I'm thinking a draw. I'm thinking 1-1.
It's always difficult to go play in another country.
It's true,
Like
yeah,
they're gonna
it's
go,
fair.
they're gonna go down there, and the grass is gonna be long. Like it's going to be. It's
not
just,
gonna
like
be-
it's just like I'm just not envisioning this going as smoothly as like it would be totally different. Like I think it would be totally different if this team was midseason, pretty healthy. Had all of its players at its disposal. This team is going to have 5 players on its bench probably. Like
Right.
it's going to have 2. Like they're not even going to be able to fill out a full 18.
Right. And one of the, like, your one defensive sub is a kid that your own manager is saying is hesitant about playing at all because of the significance of the stage that they're playing on.
Yeah.
Right. Like that does not instill so much confidence of a fully healthy lineup would for me.
Yeah, that's where I am too.
Another new name in the draft tonight, Detract 1. Thin squad forces FDB to play starters longer than he wants, and someone else goes down with injury. I sure hope not.
By the way, so I see Elliot mentioned the altitude. Actually, there is no altitude really in this game. It's like 83 meters above sea level or something.
Okay.
So
I think
Atlanta's higher.
Yeah,
then, right?
yeah, oh yeah. I think the other on their traditional home stadium is on the other side of the country where it's more mountainous, so that would have been like Appalachian level
gotcha,
kind of elevation. But I think that part of the altitude training is just to generally get your fitness up.
Yeah.
And if they are playing like Club America, then you would that would be at elevation.
The elevation in Tegucigalpa is 990 meters.
You say that word good, boy.
Is that where they're playing? Is that it's in San Pedro Sula?
San Pedro Sula.
Tegucigalpa. Say it again.
Because that
Tegucigalpa.
city is where they're from, but they're not playing in their home stadium.
Oh, okay. That's
Because it didn't conform with CONCACAF.
Yeah, you're right then. It's 272 feet above elevation. And in comparison to what? Kennesaw, Georgia.
So the other thing that our buddy over in Australia is mentioning is that I guess the stadium is a compacted size, which Atlanta's typically struggled on as well. So I don't know if like what it is in relationship to. Whenever I hear compact size, I think of NYCFC, right?
Yeah.
And compact field with longer grass seems to work against Atlanta in some regards on both of those aspects as well.
Yeah, so they train in Atlanta at in Kennesaw, 1,000 feet above elevation.
So the elevation is
it's not
above
just
sea
not a
level.
factor.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Score prediction? You never said.
I think 2-0. I think that
Atlanta?
Yeah, I think so. In the comment, I understand the comment about leaving starters in longer, but at the end of the day,
I think starters are going to play the whole game.
I think they will too. Maybe one sub, like
but we're not. It's not like we're filling out the bench with junior players
No.
that can't come in.
No.
But my thing is like
your bench will be
except for Campbell,
Adams, John,
Can,
and Fernando Luis. So you kind of are filling it with kids. Luis
yeah,
Fernando,
right. Because
sorry.
you're going to end up having to play because of Rossetto being out. You're going to have to play Rometty, Larry, and Heinemann in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but at the same time, I mean, it's 3 subs regardless of how many people are on the bench. I mean, it's not like it's going to be that much of a difference than it would be with a full bench.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I mean, FDB doesn't really use all of his subs anyway, like in lots of games. So,
I mean, I feel like
Tata didn't either.
Tata didn't. And
that's
Tata
how it is in
made
MLS. Like, it's like in MLS, your quality is definitely in your starting 11 and kind of.
And this game matters so much right now that I don't know why you would sub it unless it is a blowout in the opposite direction and Atlanta's up by some astronomical
I could see Mo Adams coming in to like either lock down something at the end of a game or just clog up midfield somehow.
Yeah. Could you see?
I like Mo Adams.
Yeah.
I like him. I feel like whenever he comes into the game,
he does a job.
I don't think he'd never. Yeah, right. He does a job. I don't think he ever puts his foot wrong, really. But he's never the standout player except for scoring the fastest goal in Atlanta United history against LAFC.
That's right, against LAFC.
Yeah.
But
so, did you say your score prediction?
2-0.
Yeah.
I think I'm happy getting an away goal as long as we don't have the doom and gloom Joe Patrick special.
I'll go 1-1. I think we got a good mix here. So what did you say? You think it's gonna be?
I said 3-1 Motagua.
You gotta watch your tongue, man.
I'm saying that because
it was good. It was good luck last year.
I'm already invested in it now. So this is my show, our show.
I see how it is.
No,
you can get out of my house.
You shut your mouth.
So 3-1 to Motagua for Joe, and you're saying 1-1.
1-1, yeah.
I'm happy with 1-1 because we get an away goal going back home, and I think that puts the pressure on them. I feel like, have we ever really excelled at Kennesaw State? I guess
that Herediano
game was
they beat him pretty good. Beat him up pretty good. Their manager got fired after that game.
Really, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
What did we win?
They
that
had
game?
They had not been doing well. I don't think in their domestic league.
Did we win that game 4-1?
4-0. I think.
4-0. Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, it hasn't been great. I think they redid their field. I had heard from actually one of the former Atlanta United 2 players, Tyler Ruthven. I had mentioned something when they were playing there in the U.S. Open Cup last year that it was a slippery field, and he was like, "Looks great." He tweeted back to me. He was like, "Yeah, looks really nice. Plays like an ice rink." But and then he like deleted the tweaks. I think somebody got pissed about that. But I think they redid the field, so hopefully the footing should be better.
Nice.
It's always looked. He's right. It's always looks fantastic.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Are you going to go to? I'm assuming you'll be at the home leg.
He'll be in.
I'll be at the home leg.
St. Pedro
that's
Sula
been
tomorrow.
a whole thing with CONCACAF. You got to like get like 3 applications accepted and
to go abroad.
No, not abroad. Just like the whole bureaucracy of CONCACAF is. You have to have like different applications approved and stuff. Like you have to have. I don't want to get into it, but
gotcha.
Yes, I will be there.
Nice.
I don't know if I'll be in Nashville. That's the only one. I want to go, but I'm not sure if I'll be there.
Yeah.
We got a couple Dirty South soccer writers going up. I would only go if the radio station needs me. Yeah. So let's hope they need me.
Like all Home Before Dark plans, ours went up in flames with Nashville, and we had big hopes of going up there, but I just don't think it's going to work out with either of our schedules at this point. So.
Yeah. It's a bummer because it would be such a fun trip, but life and stuff gets in the way.
Exactly. We did it for preseason 2 years ago, or I guess.
Oh yeah.
That was 2 years ago.
That was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to having that as an opportunity in seasons to come. I hate that they're in the West though, but
until realignment
I think
happens,
I think once more teams come in and they can balance them out. I think
once
it would be crazy if they stayed in the West.
When Inter Miami folds because of the lawsuits, if they don't just like completely give in.
So since we're talking about Nashville, another point of interest and news, which we talked about last week, which is they did get their stadium issue resolved.
Yeah. Like a day after they signed Walker Zimmerman. Wow, I can't say that name for some reason. Walker Zimmerman from LAFC. What are your thoughts on him? Do you like? I've seen mixed reactions that he's overrated, and then that he's like he flounders on the big stage.
I think that's going a little bit too far. I think he's a fine center back. I do think that it's a mistake to think that you can just go spend money on a center back and that's like going to make you a better defensive team, because defense in soccer is so holistic, right? Like you need midfielder, you need so many players to be doing their jobs in order for the good players, like, you know, the center backs to be able to do their jobs effectively. They need the people around them to also be doing that. So like, I think FC Cincinnati like spent big on some defenders like Kendall Waston and stuff. And it's like, if you don't surround them with quality as well, then you're kind of hanging them out to dry.
Right.
So as long as they don't do that, and we'll see. Like, I don't really have any strong opinions on how good their roster is, but it seems like they should be set up to be pretty decent defensively.
Gotcha. So wrapping it up.
Yeah, tomorrow night, listen to the Atlanta Sports X. We're going to be on the Mouse of the South radio show with Eric and I believe Sam. I don't believe Josh is going to be there tomorrow, but
okay. Where can they find all your stuff at, Joe?
DirtySouthSoccer.com and follow Dirty South Soccer Podcast Network. If you just like search Dirty South Soccer, we're on wherever you get your podcast, you'll see us pop up.
We're aware.
We're aware. They're 2 feet.
Sandbagging. What about personal Twitter?
JA Patrick 200 is where you can follow me on Twitter.
Tim, what about you?
You can find me, I guess,
in them streets.
Yeah, if you want to see anything not soccer related and completely just woodworking related, you can go to my my Instagram. That's Tim Herb.
After dark.
Woodworking. Yeah.
Working that wood. Find me at The Architect. It's at _ARC1 TECT. Collectively at Home Before Dark. That's before spelled B and then number 4. We did get a new rating, but no new reviews. We're up to 188. Wanting to get 12 more to get up to 200. That's our goal for this season. Still trying to get plans for merch and stuff. Go take a look at the shop. GetHomeBeforeDark.com/shop. Some of that stuff's going to get pulled down here soon and get revamped and reworked. Keep an ear out for that. However you found us, be sure to like, thumbs up, hit the bell icon, throw some stars, leave a review to hear it read aloud on the show. You know what to do. Tell a friend, and as always, be home before dark.
Bye, guys.